So at this point, where are your kids?
They are with their father, yes.
Are they aware?
No, but later on my mother would tell them because they were so young.
Yeah.
They just know that mommy disappeared. Yeah. They don't know whether I'm alive, whether I'm dead. Yeah. They're also sad.
And when did your husband come to find out, and what was his reaction?
My mom now later called him. And when, of course, she went to where he was living with the children. And she told him, this is what has happened. And he said he does not want anything to do with that kind of story. Because his reputation and his career, he cannot jeopardize his career and reputation because of my action. So it was me and my mom. And my mother never left me, not even one day. So mothers are very supreme. Mothers are next to God. So she struggled and tried to find a lawyer for me. And the day that I was going to be arraigned in court, these inspectors, the same people, told them that we were going to the High Court of Kenya. So they were there at the High Court waiting for me. And these people took me to Kibera Law Courts. So by the time I was getting inside the court, I still didn't know what to say because I've not even seen the lawyer. Yeah. And I find people from community, industrial area, you all meet in the queue to the judges. And they ask you, what did you do? Because they think that probably you don't look like a very bad person, like a criminal maybe. What happened? Why are you here? And I get to tell them, and they say, oh, that court 1 where you're going, don't try to say you're guilty the way you are trying to say here. They will lock you in for the rest of your life. This judge is so bad. So who wants to be locked in for the rest of their lives? I go in the court and I say I'm not guilty because I believe these people are more experienced. Maybe they are used to these court things. By the time my lawyer tries to find out where I am and he comes, I've already pleaded again. Not guilty. So a lot of confusion. Yeah. Anyway, after that, they take you to Langata Women's Prison. And that's where I started remand life. I go to a prison where there were no beds. You all sleep on the floor, a very packed room. Probably that should hold 30 to 40 people. You are 70 or 80 of you with one toilet. No proper beddings, no proper water, no proper food. Lies. The first night I was scratched my body throughout. The lies that were there, the dirt, the filth. If I thought I was depressed then, I was now more depressed. It was bad, and probably my name is Grace. God had grace upon me. That's why I remained sane. Otherwise, you can easily run crazy. And life started. And those days, they didn't allow children in prison. No. That started in 2005, I think, after Uncle Moody Awori's reforms. Children were not allowed to come to prison. So I never used to see them. I would only hear about them from my mommy. And my husband also never used to come for some time. But I think after some 1-2 years down the line, I was surprised one day. He came to bring for me money, pocket money, and the basic things that were used there, Colgate, body oil, soap, and I was very surprised because I didn't expect to see him. He didn't want to be associated with someone who has done wrong. But he later started coming. And even one day he came with his so-called girlfriend that made us quarrel. Yeah, and told me she was not well, this and that and that. And I said, I have learned to forgive. And what is important for me now is how I can move forward and how I can stay strong and be alive for the sake of my little children. And believe me, 4 years down the line, this lady was also arrested. Not because of me, but because of something she did in the United States of America. And by this time, I had accepted my fate and I had started living once again. By the time they brought her, I was in charge of the school because we had just started experiencing the reforms, prison reforms. So I was in charge of the school, which was new. I was in charge of the prisoners. I was a trustee. I was in charge of the ward. I was in charge of catwalk. You know, I don't know if you used to see those catwalks in prison. We were there. I was one of the people who started, of course, with the officer in charge then. And I was practically all over. So when she came, they put her into a cell, which was where I was just above where she was living. So every morning I would wake up and see her down there and see. But I'd asked for permission also. When she was in remand, I was already in prison. There are two separate areas. So I asked for permission to see her. And I was allowed because they were also amazed. Oh, so you know her? I said, yes, I know her. Because when she came, you know, she was loaded. She was not just an ordinary middle class person like me. She was up there. So when you come to prison and they can see you have a lot of money, there's some respect also. So they called me and I was able to speak to her and I asked her, why did you do this to me? And even if that happened, why didn't you even get a lawyer for me? Because you know these things. My mother is so innocent. She doesn't know any of these things. I have never done this business before. You could have asked for a lawyer at least. Sent even a toilet roll for me. Why did you just dump me like that? And she apologized and said, I am sorry. I know that I did wrong, that maybe God is also punishing me for the things I've done to others. But she was convinced that she was going to move out very, very, very soon. And she promised me that when I go out, I will make sure that you also come out. Little did she know that Americans are not a joke. She was never going to come out. So she stayed there because they were looking for permission from the president then, President Kibaki, to allow them to extradite her to go and answer charges in US. And of course the president gave permission. She was taken there. And somehow these people, these FBIs got to hear of me. And they came to prison and asked me if I was willing to be a witness, to be a state witness in the US. And I said, no problem. If my being a witness towards this kind of case is going to save one or two people, then why not? And even the thought of just taking a break from Langata Women's Prison, it was not a very bad idea. So I said, okay, it is something that had never happened in Kenya. So I was the first one. So they convinced me that, you know, if Saga, you're going to save one or two people by just going to witness and say exactly what happened. Then they reminded me that, remember Jesus, Christ, was crucified for our sins, and he never did anything wrong to anybody. So maybe your testifying is also going to save one person who tomorrow was going to end up again into a problem like you did. So when I thought about that, I said, yeah, it's true. Maybe God has a reason for having passed me through all this. Let me just go. And we went, and it was a long flight to Washington, D.C. We arrived, and when I got into the prison, believe me, I didn't know that that was prison.
Yeah.
Man, remember where I've come from?
Yeah.
Langata,
Yeah.
where there used to be lies and only one toilet for 70 or 80 people. And the dirt that was there before. And then this, like a 5-star hotel to me, I said, wow. I was taken through the corridors. I was given a clean uniform, ironed properly, until I even got to the room. I had my own room with a, you know, the way you see hotel rooms, with a television, warm water, a study table, a bed, proper beddings. It was amazing. Then come the breakfast. First, the countdown. You know, in Langata, there is this kaba. Kaba is squat. You squat in groups of 5 for head count. Hey, in Arlington, you just stand by your door and you wave this glass high. And they pass. You don't squat, nothing. And there is this story of addressing the warders or dresses. You know, in Langata, you say, madam. Like if I want to address you, madam, tafadhali nataka kwenda kunywa maji. Or nataka kwenda kunywa maji, madam. Everything begins with madam and ends with madam.
Yeah.
No, in Arlington, if you know the name, it's just the name.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know whether to call it shock, culture shock. Yeah. It was so different.
Yeah.
And then I say I felt very comfortable because this was a very big break from what I was used to. Yeah. I think we have a very long way to go in terms of improving our correctional centers.
Yeah.
Should not even be called prison. It should be a correctional center. And even I don't know whether it is the training that should change for the wardresses, because the way they handle you there and the way they were handling us here, totally different. You really know you are in a place to be corrected, not to be punished. And probably that is how it should be, because when you go there, it should be for correction, for the mistake that you did, or for the mistake that you made. And when you punish so much, it hardens you. Some people, they don't change. It makes them even harder. So probably our systems should begin changing towards that direction, because I believe that these white people are the ones who brought this jail system here. But what are they doing in their country? Are they doing what we are doing? No. Why can't we change? So anyway, I stayed there for a month, and I was not the only witness. We were about 50. But I understand they had gotten almost 100 witnesses, but they cut it down to 50 because, you know, they were incurring the costs. Everything was theirs. And she was found guilty, and he was sentenced to 24 years of prison. And after 1 month, I came back. And when I came back to Langata, the United States government started pleading for my release through to the president. And a year later, I was released. Yeah. So that is what happened. But when I was in Langata, I had started putting down my story in a book form. Remember when I went to prison, we were not allowed writing materials. And we could only read the Holy Bible. Nothing, no literature. So I would find pencils that people had hidden on the walls. They would put holes in the wall, put a pencil inside and block with ugali. So maybe at night I would take tissue paper and start writing my story down on tissue paper, because I didn't want to forget the things I was going through. And then 5 years later, when reforms came and I was in charge of the school, I was able to take my tissue papers, and because we had computers from Faraja, may God bless Faraja Trust, because they did a lot for prisons, and they are still doing up to today. So I started doing the book that was on tissue onto the computers, because I was computer literate, and wrote my story down and came up with this book.
Wow.
The Deadly Moneymaker, which I think there's a year or two, it was highly used at the University of Nairobi. I think a master's degree class in the Department of English and Literature. I remember them telling me that we are doing your book, we are using your book for our studies. And it can also be read by young people, students, so that they get to know the dangers of getting into what I got myself into.